talk a little bit about what happens during the summer for a low-income student compared to a middle-class student in the United States. So when both students come in kindergarten, they learn about a little less than a year's worth of knowledge. The red here is the middle class student, and the blue here is the low income student. But let's look what happens when we get to the summer. The middle class student gains about 1 month of learning over the summer, whereas the low income student loses 2 to 3 months over that same summer. When you carry that out over the course of elementary school, you can see that the middle class student continues on an upward trajectory pretty evenly. However, the low income student continues that 2 to 3 months of what we call summer learning loss, or the summer learning slide. So even though they may actually gain more during the school year than their peers that are middle class, the gap continues to widen until it is ultimately, by 5th grade, the gap is about 2 to 3 years. So let's take a dive into some more deep data. Let's think about a 3rd grade student, or a couple of different 3rd grade students, as they leave 3rd grade, go through the summer, and get ready to go back to 4th grade. Here in Baltimore City, they use a standardized assessment that's used by millions of students across the country called the iReady. The iReady is an assessment for both math and reading. Let's look at math first. So let's think about 3 different students. The first, represented by the blue dot here, will be our student that came to the Young Audiences Summer Arts and Learning Academy. The red dot will represent a student that is the average student. So for standardized tests, they use percentile ranks. So the red dot represents nationally an average student at the 50th percentile rank, which means 50% of the students that take the test across the country score better than this student, and 50% score worse. So they're right smack dab in the middle. And then finally, the yellow dot represents another Baltimore City student that did not attend a formal summer learning program. All of them, at the end of their 3rd grade year, are at the 50th percentile. So that means 50% of students across the country are better than them, 50% of students scored worse than they did. So let's first start with our typical average student, the red dot. If everything was equal, from the beginning, end of 3rd grade to the beginning of 4th grade, if everybody in the country that's taken this test has the same amount of summer learning loss or gains, then when that student came back to school and they took the test again in the fall, they would still be at the 50th percentile. So let's look at now a typical Baltimore City student that doesn't go to summer learning program. Data from summer 2016 in Baltimore City showed that students lost in math 2.8 percentile ranks when they got back to school in the fall. So compared to that typical student with the normal amount of summer learning loss, they're actually losing more because the percentile ranks change along with the students. But let's take a look then at a student that attended the Summer Arts and Learning Academy 75% of the program days. we actually saw gains of positive 1.8 percentile ranks when they came back to school in the fall. So you can see the difference, a swing of nearly 5 percentile ranks from students that don't go to a summer program to students that came to the Summer Arts and Learning Academy. What this also shows is that compared to the average, 50% being right in the middle of all of the students taking this test nationwide, our students are actually gaining more, and as a result they're actually improving their percentile rank. So now let's take a look at that same study and the impact on reading. So if we look at our same students, here's our Young Audience's 50th percentile in reading student. Here is our regular average 50th percentile student from the full sample of students taking the iReady test. And here's our Baltimore City student that doesn't go to a summer learning program. So again, all things being equal, the average student is going to stay at the 50th percentile. 50% more scoring higher than they do in reading, 50% scoring lower than they do in reading. Our Baltimore City student who doesn't go to a summer learning program, we found in the study, loses about 2.1 percentile ranks in reading. The students that came to the Young Audience's Summer Learning Academy and attended about 75% or more of the program reduced that loss to only negative 0.8 percentile ranks, a statistically significant increase or difference between not going to a summer learning program for that 50 percentile Baltimore City student.